Okay, hi everyone, welcome back, and in this update we are going to check out VeChain's price chart, and I think it's best to remind ourselves why we are actually looking quite optimistic and bullish in VeChain in the mid to long term, no matter what might be next in the short term. So let's talk about what is happening in weekly time frame in terms of Elios waves, and in my view, back in this bull run in 2020, 2021, we actually had an ABC zigzag, and unlike a lot of other altcoins, this wasn't actually an impulse. Now, followed by this zigzag, I think we are having a correction down, probably a WXY. It can be either like a double zigzag or maybe a flattened zigzag. Generally doesn't really matter. This can be our first ABC down into wave W, ABC up to about this point into wave X, excuse me, there we go. And this can be a ABCDE, a triangle structure into wave B, followed by another 5 wave down into our C leg. And in my view, we are actually like very close to reach to our final low. Now, this WXY on a higher degree is going to be into this wave X in my view, and I think by the end of this cycle, we are hopefully going to have yet another great move on the upside, and that move up overall is going to be, in my opinion, in form of an ABC zigzag, and whether we are going to have maybe this A leg in the cycle, and then we are going to get into like a seriously long consolidation pattern, and then we're gonna have another move up in the next bull run. I guess that can be off for the base, but that's not really the point. The point that I'm trying to make is this: I think in VeChain, by the end of this cycle, we are actually going to see like a really hard bounce in order to, I'm gonna say, at least take the highs in here, which the highest high is somewhere around, if I just hide everything, excuse me, let's say 8.2 cents area, and I think we can actually go quite a bit higher than that. And from the current point, that's essentially something like a 6-7x move on the upside. So I think this is actually a good buy opportunity, and that's why also in the previous video I told you, look, I'm actually buying VeChain around the lows. Do I have some more reason to believe, yeah, you know what, maybe in here hopefully we are going to hit the lows? The answer, yes. And I think we also talked about this in the previous update, right? Let's go on Coinbase's chart, zoom in more, there we go. I don't know why is it that the chart is not really loading. Let's just do this. Okay, it's actually loaded. Let's go on H4 time frame. You see, if you remember the last time that we talked about VeChain, we were, I think, somewhere around these areas, and the idea was that, well, okay, this can be 5 wave down, followed by that we may see a correction structure on the upside. And we said, look, if we get a move up, be careful and pay attention to the shape of it, because odds are we're going to have another move down. And we said, hopefully in that move, we are not going to take the lowest low down here about 1.3 cents. And we said, hopefully this is going to be, excuse me, 5 wave up into a wave 1, correction for wave 2, and what's next? Fantastic move on the upside into wave 3 and 4 and 5. And unfortunately, as you can see, that one definitely did not play out, and instead we got a continuation of our move down, sure, but in it, well, we took the lows, and this is not necessarily optimistic. Like, do not get me right, I don't really believe that in VeChain we are going to have something like a 50, 60, 70% move down. Absolutely not. However, building a bullish setup, and by that you probably know it if you are a regular viewer of the channel, I'm talking about having a 5 wave up followed by a correction down. It's actually going to take a bit of time. So that's why in the previous video we said, look, in an ideal case, we really do not want to see VeChain taking the lows in here, but hey, guess what? The market is not really ideal and it does what it wants to do. We're just here to analyze it. And now, well, you know what I'm gonna say, even if the low is already in here in VeChain, expect maybe about, I'm gonna say probably between 15 to 20 days for a bullish setup. By that, you know it, 5 wave up and followed by that a correction down to take some time, okay? And for instance, the last time that we were talking about a 1-2 was this structure, right? Well, let's just measure it timing wise from here to about this point. As you can see, this took about, let's say, 13 days to play it out. And if we were actually bullish from here after 13-14 days, we would have gone up. So makes sense to expect maybe 2-3 weeks of consolidation pattern in VeChain. even if you want to assume that the final low is already in. Now, having said all that, why am I still bullish on VeChain? Because this level, you see, is actually like a major support area from weekly and daily time frame at the same time. And I do have kind of a hard time believing that we are going to get like a massive break of it and continue our move down for another 50%. I think somewhere around these areas in VeChain, hopefully we are going to hit our final low. And sure, maybe building a bullish setup is going to take some time, but I'm buying VeChain for the mid to long term, okay? I'm buying VeChain for minimum the next couple of months, if not, let's say, the next maybe year and a half. That's why I don't really care if we end up, for example, getting another move on the downside. This, from my POV, is just going to be more and more buying opportunity because now the risk to reward ratios just make perfect sense. However, again, I'm going to be the first one to admit this. I did not really think that we were going to get a move down and take the lows in here in an ideal case. And now I'm gonna say probably this was something like an ABC running flat, because I do kind of have a hard time believing that this isn't actually an impulse. I'm gonna say probably this was an ABC running flat, and now we are having hopefully our final move on the downside. And you can, for example, say this is actually the start of our impulse, like a 1, 2, a strong move down into wave 3, correction for 4 in form of a running flat, another move down into wave 5. Bottom line, again, I do think we are quite close to the end of our move down in VeChain. Now, let's go on some lower time frames and see what is actually happening in the recent bounce. And here is what I have in my mind. Let's just actually real quick compare this bounce timing wise to the previous move. As you can see, this thing is so far taking us about, let's say, 233 candlesticks on 30-minute time frame. On the other hand, in about also 200 candlesticks, we actually got this a strong move on the downside. So I'm going to say this right now, at least it doesn't really seem like that bulls do have control over the price, because if they would have had control, we would have gone up big time in here. That's why I'm going to say, yeah, you know what? Your base case maybe should be having a continuation of the move down. But again, I don't really think that in VeChain we are going to have some massive moves. I think overall downsides are actually quite limited, and on the upside, I think there's actually quite a lot of potential. Now, finally, let's go on weekly time frame, zoom in more, and see what is going on in terms of indicators. Excuse me. Okay, so as you can see in stock RSI, once more, it seems like that we are having, yes, actually, unfortunately, a confirmed sell signal. So definitely not ideal when you combine it with this sell signal, this confirmed sell signal in MACD as well. So in weekly chart, definitely not looking good. How about daily time frame? And as you can see, okay, we are starting to look a bit optimistic, since it seems like that we are having a confirmed buy signal in stock RSI. But I would like to suggest, just to make sure this is actually happening, maybe wait a little bit more and see, are we going to also get a buy signal in MACD as well? If we get one, okay, I guess that can be an optimistic sign. And by the way, I forgot to tell this. Let's just do this. Okay, so what do you have on the live chart? This is a low. The other one is a lower low. The other one is also a lower low right in here. Now, on the other hand, in MACD, what do you have in here? This is a low. The other one is a higher low. And the other one also is a higher low. So essentially, we are actually having a rather nice bullish divergence. And here is the line for it. Now, please pay attention to what I have to say. A bullish divergence by itself is a fantastic sign, and in case of VeChain, it's actually like a much more bullish of a sign, because it's actually happening around this important support. However, God forbid, if we end up going down in VeChain, and in that move down, we end up getting a break of this beautiful divergence line in daily time frame, at that point, maybe even expect this support to break and our move down to actually, unfortunately, get accelerated quite a bit. And in the short term, maybe the picture is going to be a little bit different. But again, from my POV, that's just going to be more and more buy opportunity. For now, based on what I'm seeing, I'll be honest with you, going down big time in VeChain is not really my base case, since number one, in terms of Elliott waves, I do think hopefully we are close to the end of our move down. Number two, we are at the same time around this important support area. And number three, we are having this bullish divergence, this beautiful looking one around our very important support from, again, weekly and daily time frame at the same time. That, my friends, is why I am actually a buyer around the lows. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in VeChain's chart. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.